Work zones are dangerous places. Your safety can be compromised from many different directions, frequently and suddenly at the same time. Your attention to the activities around you, your situational awareness, is the most important tool you possess. If you work in a highway work zone, you will be exposed to construction traffic. Trucks, heavy equipment, earth movers, all are loud, big, and generate dust. They're hard to see around and may limit visibility. It can be difficult to keep track of all the movement happening at any moment, but maintaining awareness of your surroundings is essential for your safety. In addition to being closely aware of the construction activity around you, you may also be tasked with directing traffic around a construction site or through a work zone. Road building in Texas is a year-round and ongoing job. Our citizens are impacted daily by construction and need clear information and direction about their responsibilities in and near work zones. Delays and route changes can be frustrating for drivers. Use an effective and approved traffic control plan that minimizes the dangers for citizens traveling near a construction work zone. Your life, your co-workers, and the lives of the traveling public are at stake. Work zones can be described as an area of a highway with construction, maintenance, or utility work activities. A work zone is typically marked by signs, channelizing devices, barriers, pavement markings, and work vehicles. Equipment staging areas and support zones are also included. The presence of workers alone make it a work zone. Road builders face the challenge of providing a safe workplace while ensuring the safe movement of the public through that work zone. Complicating matters, those work zones are constantly in motion, always changing, as are the dangers associated with them. In the year 2009, over 100 workers died in accidents in road construction sites in Texas. That's more than any other state, and certainly more lives than we as Texans can tolerate. The three main types of employee injury incidents associated with fatalities are transportation incidents, which include workers being struck by vehicles or mobile equipment and collisions between vehicles, being struck by an object, and falls. Being struck by a vehicle or mobile equipment is the leading cause of fatal injuries in road building. Workers are more likely to be killed by construction equipment used on the site than by automobiles. Dump trucks, a common sight on construction projects, are particularly deadly. Situational awareness can help prevent all of these potentially deadly hazards. So pay attention to your surroundings and stay safe. In order to protect yourself, your co-workers, and maintain a safe workplace, you need to be able to recognize the hazards and dangers of your workplace. When you know the hazards, it's easier to control or avoid the risks. Your job includes identifying and recognizing hazards every single day. And every single day brings new challenges and a different set of risks. In this video, we'll look at three types of work zones: highway construction work zones, maintenance work zones, and utility work zones. We'll cover the hazards specific to each zone, discuss how to identify potentially risky situations, and look at ways to stay safe and prevent injury. Construction work zones are full of activity. Trucks, heavy equipment, and workers move together in concert, building roads for the citizens of Texas. We know that the biggest cause of fatalities in construction zones are transportation incidents. Transportation incidents include workers struck by vehicles and vehicle collisions. It also includes being run over, or backed over, or run off the road. Your best defense is a critical assessment of potential hazards. Identify these dangers and constantly update your mental risk assessment as conditions change. Heightened awareness and continuous reevaluation are essential. Most injuries happen when workers are distracted. Don't allow yourself to lose focus and be distracted by other activities like cell phone usage, complacency, horseplay, or weather conditions. Remember that when working around heavy equipment and trucks, they always have the right of way. The simple fact is, these vehicles have blind spots and cannot turn or stop quickly. Workers should always give equipment the right of way. Maintain a safety zone around operating equipment. This safety zone extends for 20 feet around the equipment. Do not enter on foot, drive, or park a vehicle in this area until you have communicated with the operator. Once you have identified the risks and potential hazards, establish your personal safety zone. Your personal safety zone is the space around yourself and your coworkers. This space should not be compromised under any circumstances. It provides a barrier of space that gives you time to react. This helps to ensure the safety zone is maintained. As with any job in a work zone, personal protective equipment is essential and required. It is your responsibility to make sure your equipment is in good condition and visible. Communicating with your coworkers is an important element within the work zone. Walkie-talkies and hand signals are ways to communicate within the job site. With hand signals, make sure that before the work begins, you're in agreement about the meaning of each signal. One good way to encourage clear communication is to have tailgate meetings before starting work each day. Each person working on the site that day should attend. TxDOT and contractors should come together to review the work activities scheduled for that day, plan the work, communicate the plan, and follow through, making safety a priority. Make note of activities that increase traffic on the site: concrete pours, beam sets, lay-down operations, panel placement. These activities increase the amount of traffic in work zones, areas that are already busy. Despite all this activity, it's actually possible to create tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is when you concentrate on your work to the point that you aren't aware of what's going on around you. The results can be fatal. Do not allow complacency. Instead, regularly scan the area around your personal safety zone for hazards. Stay alert for sounds or motions that could indicate danger, and as always, have an escape route. An escape route can be a lifesaver. All workers should have a pre-planned possible escape route. Since work zones are constantly changing, it's important that you make a new plan as the operation changes. Look at your work area and decide how you could escape if you needed to. If an incident occurs and you need to escape, your plan should already be in place. Remember that if you're flagging within a work zone, the traffic control setup must comply with the Texas MUTCD, the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or the Pre-Approved Traffic Control Plan, TCP, for the job. Traveling through a construction zone can be stressful and sometimes confusing for motorists. It's important that the public have a good understanding of what is expected of them. That's why a clearly marked and signed work zone is so important. With clear direction and signage, the dangerous task of moving traffic through a work zone can be made safer. Working cooperatively with the public to educate them about their responsibilities as drivers in work zones reduces the risk of potential incidents. By working together, we can establish safe, efficient, and effective traffic control. Maintenance work zones present a different set of challenges. These work zones may be in rural or urban areas and are usually in place for shorter periods of time. The activities, reclamation operations, asphalt laydowns, level ups, and others are related to the maintenance of the road, as opposed to long-term construction projects. Since the location of maintenance work zones can change from day to day, it's important to take responsibility for your safety at all times. Your job duties may change, but your commitment to safety should stay the same. You need proper personal protective equipment, PPE, in addition to maintaining situational awareness, and have a pre-planned escape route to protect yourself. Maintenance work zones may involve intensive work in one area, or may cover a mile or more. That's why daily tailgate safety meetings are important. They should be used to inform all employees of possible hazards and the action plan to reduce and/or eliminate the hazards in the work zone. Tailgate meetings are also a good place to discuss your traffic control plan. The traffic control discussion should include how to set up and take down the traffic control. Attention must be taken to protect workers from third-party motorists. TMAs, truck-mounted attenuators, are a good example of providing an extra element of safety.
Be safe out there, okay?
Flaggers should set their stations according to the Texas MUTCD or approved traffic control plan and make sure that they understand the work operation they are flagging. All PPE, signs, flags, and cones should be in good condition. They may save your life. Distracted drivers are always a hazard. Cell phones, radios, electronic devices all pull a driver's attention away from the road. Be careful. Sometimes the slower pace of traffic control in a rural setting can itself be distracting to you as the flagger. As in construction work zones, truck activity and moving equipment pose the greatest threat. Machine noise, traffic, and other distractions make staying focused very important. When arriving at a project site, inspectors should park in a safe, visible area. Inspectors must stay within their personal safety zone and be alert at all times. Inattention and complacency is the #1 cause of serious incidents. Inspectors should not stand in the route of moving machinery. If an inspector must work behind a piece of stationary equipment or vehicle, they must first take on the responsibility of a spotter to make sure that they're not backed over. Once again, situational awareness is crucial. Maintenance work zones have many of the same hazards as construction zones, but on a smaller scale, and they can be just as fatal. Utility work zones are fundamentally different than highway construction zones. The work is often shorter in duration and generally uses smaller crews. Utilities are part of our infrastructure, and service providers often need to work on or nearby roadways. This work poses a unique set of safety challenges for the workers and the traveling public. Telecommunications, electric, gas, water, and other utility companies may be operating in the highway right-of-way, or even within a construction zone. This heavy concentration of activity by contractors and utilities sometimes occurs on the same portion of the roadway, often already overflowing with high-density traffic. The historical tendency for utility companies is to get in and get out as quickly as possible. Worksite location conditions and duration variability make work zone traffic control a particular challenge. And traditional construction zone traffic control sometimes seems impractical on a utility work zone. However, whether or not a traffic control plan exists, you're still responsible for safe, effective traffic control. With over 1,000 construction, maintenance, and utility projects going on across the state on a daily basis, motorists will encounter work zones. The primary function of a traffic control plan is to provide for reasonably safe and effective movement of motorists through or around work zones, while protecting road users, workers, and equipment. By law, motorists must obey these signs. But when drivers repeatedly encounter work zones that are improperly marked, unsigned, and non-uniform, they tend to develop orange overload. Orange overload is when motorists become numb to actual and present dangers. This is why it is essential to have appropriate traffic control at all times. All traffic plans must comply with the Texas MUTCD. But drivers can still be overloaded with too much signage. More is not necessarily better. Keep it clear and simple. Whenever possible, use physical barriers like trucks or attenuators to stop out-of-control traffic. It's also a good idea to periodically drive through the work zone and look at your traffic controls from the perspective of the traveling public. Make sure the signage clearly and simply communicates what you're asking them to do. Let's review. When flagging, give strong, clear hand signals and try to make eye contact with the driver. Be aware of all the activity around you and stay alert for potential hazards. Those potential hazards can be impaired drivers, speeders, or distracted drivers. The most effective safety tool you possess is your awareness. Your ability to focus on your work while still maintaining your situational awareness is the key to safety. We've shown you 3 different types of work zones and hazards associated with them. We've looked at traffic control for work zones, risks you may encounter, and ways to reduce those risks. Highway construction, maintenance, and utility work zones are building and maintaining our transportation system for the future. Every worker is responsible for their personal safety. In addition, look out for your coworkers and share safe work habits. Safe work zones are a partnership between traveling motorists, construction, maintenance, and utility workers. We must work together to provide a safe, effective transportation system. A transportation system that allows motorists to safely reach their destination, as well as allow transportation workers to go home safely at the end of their day.
Today's highway work zone is overflowing with activity and crowded with working devices, vehicles, equipment, construction supplies, and other project materials. Because of the volume of work and the many different activities taking place, the safety hazards in the work zone are greater than ever. This video will outline a variety of hazards in a typical highway construction site. We'll discuss hazards that can affect the workers on the job site as well as visitors. After reviewing this video, we encourage each of you to take the time to discuss the hazards in the work zones you currently work in and develop an action plan to reduce and eliminate hazards. Our goal is for every worker and every visitor to go home safely at the end of each day. No matter how many times you enter a construction zone, it is important to approach each project site with the utmost care, precaution, and preparation. Many on-the-job injuries are a direct result of a lack of awareness, little or no initial planning, and inadequate training. Your first line of defense in preventing injuries and fatalities in a construction site is detecting hazards and taking action to eliminate those hazards. Safety awareness is a key factor in reducing the risks for injuries due to hazards in a construction site. In this video, we'll look at 8 of the most common hazards typically present in a highway construction work zone: entering and exiting, parking, equipment, traffic, fall exposure, PPE, personal protective equipment, excavation, and health. Entering a work zone can be very challenging. Whenever possible, contact the foreman on the job site ahead of time to get job-specific work zone entry procedures. Look out for each other and remind visitors and on-site employees to follow safe work practices at all times. The reality of the work zone is that everyone is one step from death. This may sound extreme, but the potential for injury or a fatality is greater than you think. Warning signs are designed to direct traffic in a safe manner around a job site. The traveling public will likely copy someone who appears to ignore warning signs. Always observe the warning signs and/or flagger personnel when approaching the work zone. Slow down when approaching the entrance to the work zone. Use your turn signal and activate your strobe light beacon if you have one. Make it clear to the traveling public that you are part of the job site. If it appears that someone is following you into the work zone that shouldn't be, try to signal them away or stop them and direct them out of the work zone. Before exiting the work zone, observe other vehicles to determine the proper location and merging speed, or check with the job foreman or supervisor. Trying to cross a road or highway in a work zone leaves you unprotected. Traveling motorists are already confused by the activity in traffic control. The last thing they need is an unexpected vehicle or employee crossing in front of them. Bottom line, follow instructions and focus on safety when entering or exiting work zones. When entering a job site, make sure you have clear instructions from your supervisor on where to park or make contact with the on-site supervisor or field office to find out where parking is recommended. Parking procedures should be planned to eliminate parking behind another vehicle. Consider parking adjacent to or beside your coworkers. Personal vehicles should be kept to a minimum. Company and state vehicles should have designated parking areas that limit or eliminate the need for backing. This will help eliminate the #1 cause of vehicle incidents within work zones, backing. Sometimes the best parking place is not the closest. If you must back out, walk around behind your vehicle to see obstacles or hazards you may encounter. Remember, new employees, delivery personnel, material suppliers, and visitors may not be familiar with the parking at the job site. Park your vehicle as far as practical from the roadway. Never park on the shoulder or next to a travel lane. A distracted motorist may not see your vehicle till it's too late. When parking, make sure your vehicle does not obstruct the view of any traffic signs or signals. Look for alternate parking areas away from barrels and barricades where vehicles can be clearly seen. Don't park near heavy equipment or in a blind spot. Scout the area as you drive by and see if your parking spot interferes with other vehicle movement. When possible, have all parking areas on the outbound side of the work zone. If a motorist inadvertently does follow someone into the parking area on a job site, they can exit easily. This prevents unwanted traffic from creating further congestion. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, is essential for the personal safety and health of any employee or visitor to a highway construction job site. Employees must wear or use the required items while in the area. Wearing a hard hat and a vest is mandatory throughout the project at all times. In addition, steel-toe work boots are to be worn at all times and are defined as heavy-duty leather boots having a minimum height of 6 inches to support and protect the ankle. Safety glasses, goggles, safety shields, or hoods must be worn at all times when using any air tools, electric grinders, or wire brushes. You should also use them when sandblasting or when you are in the vicinity of hazardous work, such as dry cement, lime-stabilized base, placing concrete, or during any work where there is the possibility of sustaining injury to the eyes. Additional personal protective equipment, such as gloves, respirators, protective clothing, and hearing protection may be needed, depending on the hazard. Make sure you check with your supervisor or foreman if you have any questions regarding the need for the appropriate personal protective equipment for the job. PPE can save your life. Don't work without it. Driving, walking, or standing near highway construction equipment poses certain risks and dangers. Equipment operators are trained to exercise caution and practice safety. Still, concentration on the task at hand, combined with noise and limited visibility, contributes to the safety risks of others in close proximity to operating equipment. Working around heavy equipment is potentially hazardous for the following reasons: the possibility of objects falling from overhead equipment, the movement of equipment with a swing radius, the inherent danger of backing on a job site, and the possibility of thrown debris. These examples are only a few of the potential hazards associated with construction equipment. Remember to be alert and aware of your surroundings at all times. Today's drivers have more distractions than ever. Cell phones, portable music players, DVDs, and navigation systems divert attention away from safe driving and work zone construction. Public drivers passing through our work zones may be driving too fast, distracted by children, eating, or may be impaired by alcohol and drugs. Fatigued drivers may be inattentive or sleepy. Older drivers may have reduced vision and reaction time. Younger drivers may be inexperienced and react unpredictably when they encounter a work zone. But the traveling public aren't the only ones we need to keep an eye on. In addition to moving heavy equipment, trucks and pickups traveling around the work site are a significant hazard. To work safely in a work zone where traffic is present, remember to stay out of the areas of high construction traffic when possible. Backing vehicles are especially hazardous. All vehicles have blind spots when backing. Trucks and equipment have large blind spots. If possible, stay out of the safety circle, 10 to 15 feet around the equipment. Try to make eye contact with the operator or driver to make sure he or she knows you're there. Backup or travel alarms must be in working order on equipment. Pay attention to backup alarms. Don't allow yourself to tune out on the job. Losing your situational awareness because of distraction or fatigue could cost you your life. Fatigued workers may make poor decisions and take shortcuts. Never focus so intently on a task that you lose the awareness of your surroundings. Know the hazards that traffic presents and protect yourself. Falls are the leading cause of fatalities in the construction industry. Our challenge is to inform visitors and employees to be able to recognize, evaluate, and control the hazard. Typical fall hazards in highway construction include, but are not limited to the following: bridge work, precast concrete erection, elevated work platforms, overhead sign work, bucket lifts, trenches, wall openings, floor openings. Controlling these hazards requires pre-planning of the job to implement control measures for any fall potential of 6 feet or more. Industry standard fall systems include guardrail systems and personal fall arrest systems. Guardrails should have a toe board, mid-rail, and top rail, with the top rail being 39 to 45 inches high and able to withstand 200 pounds. A full body harness and lanyard must be worn by all employees who are working at heights 6 feet or greater when the work area is absent of all fall protection. Employees must be trained how to put on, adjust, and properly use a full body harness. Anchorage points for tie-off must be a secure point of attachment for horizontal or vertical lifelines and lanyards capable of supporting 5,000 pounds per person. If you wonder if a specific job will require a harness, ask yourself the following questions. Can I fall over it? Can I fall under it? Can I fall from it? Can I fall through it? Can I fall between it? Can I fall into it? Take charge of your safety by making sure fall protection safety measures are in place and being used correctly. Excavations are among the most hazardous construction operations and present serious hazards to all workers involved. Cave-ins pose the greatest risk and are more likely to result in worker fatalities. You should consider all of the factors present on the site that may increase the hazard of a cave-in, such as no sloping, shoring, or shielding, the proximity to vehicles and heavy equipment, rain or water accumulation, and excessive vibration from a well-traveled highway, nearby railroad, heavy equipment, and/or construction operations. In addition to cave-ins and related hazards, you may also be exposed to hazards involving falls, falling loads, mobile equipment, and egress associated with excavation work. Excavations should be clearly marked around sections where there is a potential for workers or others on the job site to fall into the excavation. Keep materials or equipment that might fall or roll into an excavation at least 2 feet or more from the edge, and do not perform work on faces of sloped or benched excavations at levels above other workers. Provide those workers at the lower levels adequate protection from the hazard of falling, rolling, or sliding material or equipment. Consider the equipment that is or may be in use in the vicinity of the excavation. No one should be underneath loads handled by lifting or digging equipment. Be aware of your surroundings and remain clear of equipment. You should ensure that a ladder or ramp or other means of safe egress is provided in excavations of 4 feet or more in depth and located within 25 feet of all workers. Your health is your most valuable possession. Protect it by becoming familiar with health hazards commonly found on highway construction job sites and limiting your exposure. Airborne exposure to chemicals, dust, vapors, and fumes is a hazard present at most job sites. Normal highway construction operations make such exposure routine, but you can reduce your risk of injury by using your personal protective equipment properly. Another hazard is surprise encounters with unhappy critters. Displaced varmints or insects have a tendency to attack even the nicest people. Stay aware of your surroundings and don't forget the insect repellent. Also, don't try to rescue or assist a sick or wounded wild animal of any kind while on site, and leave in a hurry if any creature makes an attempt to bite or sting. Your life can be altered in an instant if you are unknowingly allergic. Plants and vegetation also can have a negative effect on your health. Stay away from any foreign vegetation, and remember that burning brush piles that contain poisonous vines or ivy can transmit their sap in the smoke. Hazardous substances may exist on a project that can affect a person's health. Exposure to these substances can affect a person in 2 ways: acutely, where a worker feels an immediate impact to his body, such as with hives, sneezing, or watering eyes. In a delayed reaction, a worker may not see symptoms for months or years, depending on the substance and the amount of exposure. Substances that can pose a hazard to a person's health includes chemicals such as paints, additives, solvents, and fuels, silica found in concrete dust, and though not a substance, high noise levels can affect a person's hearing. Being able to identify what the hazards are around you will go a long way in helping you avoid exposure to these substances. A chemical materials safety data sheet, also known as the MSDS, is a good source for information on chemicals that may be hazardous to your health. Be informed and make yourself aware of these hidden dangers to your health. As you have seen, hazards are a reality of our daily life on the worksite. Our goal is to be aware of the potential challenges and prevent the unnecessary injury or death that can occur as a result of these exposures. There are no shortcuts to success or safety. It is a priority and is everyone's responsibility. Be alert, be aware, be alive.